Which one do I get? Which one do I keep? On the right side, I have my Canon RF 50 1.8, which is great, by the way. I bought this when it first came out. First day it arrived, I picked it up. But I thought, what does the Sigma Art look like? Or how does that compare? I looked for videos on these two everywhere, and I couldn't find them, so here you go. Which one to choose? Brand new, $900 to $1,000. Brand new, $200. You can buy almost 5 of these for the price of 1 of these. Is it worth it? Is it worth 5 times the price? Let's find out. Okay, so here we go. By the way, I am loving my Canon R. I've heard a lot of other YouTubers talk bad about it, but man, that thing is great. I'll eventually get the R5 as well, and we'll try them both out, see how they compare. But today, I'm on a budget. I can't afford the really high-end L glass all the time. So when it comes to some things, like the 50, I thought, hey, nifty 50, I'll give that a shot. I tried it, looked great. And I thought, hey, this could be a replacement. I don't need the 1.2. I can deal with 1.8. It'll work. So I used this for several sessions, several headshots, and it looked great. I actually compared this to some of my other lenses, and I mean, the quality is perfect. And after you edit it, nobody can tell that it's actually the 1.8 STM. However, I thought, I'm doing quite a few more of these shoots, so let's go ahead and try out the Sigma. So brand new, this Sigma is $990, $1,000. Looks great. I mean, the quality of this thing, I mean, it's metal where this is plastic. You can really feel how heavy, I mean, this is heavy compared to this. You can feel the quality. It's built really well. Now, the downside to this is that it is actually the Sigma EF, so there is no control ring. After using the control ring for a while, I never thought I'd use it, but after using it for a while, I kind of fell in love with it. So I had to go out and also buy the adapter. Now, I had the other adapter, but I really wanted that control ring. Listen to that. Just love it. Like I said, I never thought I'd actually use it, but after using it for a while, I changed my ISO with this. And after using it for a little while, I loved it. I had to have it. So I bought the one with the control ring. So biggest difference, this one actually has a control ring already on it. It is smooth, unlike the others that click. So that's one difference. Now, this is of course the EF with the actual adapter. When I first went and I bought this, I put this on my camera and the photos were horrible. I mean, really bad. The colors were totally off. There was magenta where it shouldn't be. There was a weird green tint to skin. It was just not good. I wasn't loving it. I did not like it. I thought, huge mistake. This completely outperforms it. Then I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not updated. So I went out and I bought the Sigma. What do you call this? Dock? Sigma Dock. Another $50. So I bought the Sigma Dock. I connected it to my lens, and it turns out it had never, ever been updated. So I updated it, and huge difference. Man, the photos were just brilliant. I just loved it. So let's kind of total everything out here. So we have $200 on this side. On this side, I actually was able to find this used, so I was able to get this for $600. So $600, $200, that's $850. There was a little more here and there, so let's call it $900. So even used, I needed all this to match this. So 5 times the price, 4.5 times the price, almost 5 times the price to match this tiny little thing. So I went out and I did several tests. Tests just to see, is it worth it? Is it worth 5 times the price? Is it that much better? Or if you get a brand new, 6.5 times the price, or 6.25 times the price, is that much better? Well, first off, let's start with the basics. This one is plastic. This one is metal. There's no weather sealing on either of these, so no big difference. There really is no image stabilization with this or with this. The upside to the 50, the RF 50, is that you can kind of use it as macro. It says on here 0.98 feet. This one, 7 miles. No, I'm kidding. But it definitely is not a macro. I've tried getting a little close to stuff and it just wasn't working. So you can't use it as a macro, where with this, you actually can. So bonus here. Bonus here for the construction. It's steel, it's metal. So great construction. This one comes with the actual control ring. So bonus for that one. This one I had to actually buy another control ring, which, by the way, the control ring adapter for this costs the exact same as this whole lens. So we're gonna get into it. Let's take a look at some shots that I did. Couldn't find a model, so I was the model. One of the other bonuses to this that this doesn't have is this actually does come with a lens hood. So that does help on sunny days, or pretty much anytime you just don't want to get that glare. This one, no lens hood. However, I will admit, I have had no issues with glare. Look at that little thing. It's tiny. Not too much gets in there, but haven't had any issues with like glare or little spots on my pictures. And I have actually been out hiking and taking photos, or walking and taking photos, so works great. However, you could buy a little tiny hood for this, which is kind of neat. I kind of like it. So like I said, I can't keep both of these. My wallet hurts. It's getting smaller and smaller, so I do need some money back. I can't keep both of these. So when I first got these two together and I started doing some tests, I just couldn't decide. I thought I made a huge mistake, but over time, started liking a little more. So let's look at some photos. So I finally got a chance to go out and test these. I still don't know exactly which one I'm gonna sell, but I'm kind of leaning towards selling the RF. So here on the left side, I have the Sigma. I have the Sigma lens, and I have it at 1.8. On the right side, I have the Canon lens, the 1.8 at 1.8. So this, I tried to stand in the exact same spot. A little more difficult than, thought, because I had to run out and change the lens. But anyways, I digress. Let's take a look at the differences. Now, overall, you don't really see a whole lot. Not a whole lot at all. The colors are very similar. You could tell this is a little more, maybe a little more red tone. So you get a little more detail in the skin. The backgrounds, you can kind of see that this does blur it out just a little bit better. Sigma, the Canon still does a great job. You can't complain. So let's zoom in a little bit. Now, one thing I do notice is the colors. Big difference in the colors. So this one, you can definitely tell my skin tone's much, much better. Over here, it kind of brightens it up a little more. You can probably fix that in post, but you could also see that there's a little more detail in the Sigma than there is on the Canon. Even in the forehead, you can kind of see here a lot more detail in the Sigma. Let's zoom in a little closer to the eye. Definitely more detail. Let's try to zoom it. Line those two up a little more. So you could see a little more detail on the actual Sigma than you can on the Canon. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, we're zoomed into about 300%. Hopefully your customers are not zooming in that much. In the hat, you can kind of see a little more detail here. Definitely a little more detail. I mean, it's minute. Here you go. A little bit of banding on the Canon, almost nothing on the Sigma. A lot cleaner. Let's see here. You could see a little more purple fringing right here. On the Sigma, nothing. I mean, if you're looking at it from this, even from a typical portrait, you're not going to see it. Not at all. So yes, the Sigma is going to be a little clearer. You can actually see it here as well. A little more contrast on the Sigma. But man, it's so minute. When we look at this, you can tell the white is definitely different. This is a little more true. This one has a little more fringing, but overall, I mean, they look great. They both look really great. For $200, that's really good. All right, let's take a look at these. Let's take a look at another one. Let's do it at 2.8. Okay, this is the same one. Well, I tried to do the same pose, but it's a little more difficult than it looks like. So actually, right off the bat, this bug out of focus on the Canon, totally in focus on the Sigma. The colors, again, a little bit of fringing, not much. This is 2.8, so it's pretty much all gone. All that fringing on both. It is a little bit clearer on the Sigma. So it is a little bit better. The colors are a little nicer for the skin tone. Eyes, I would say they're the same. Both clear. A little more contrast here. But, I mean, very minimal. The bokeh, both very similar. Not much of a difference at 2.8. Okay, so here we have another photo at 1.8. Zooming in, you can definitely see a little more contrast here. It's a little darker, but this is not bad either. It would take only just a few minutes in post to get this both to match. You do see a little difference in the bokeh. You got the egg shape in the Canon. You got the perfect circle in the Sigma. Let's take a look at the hat, see if there's any fringing. No, they both look great. Again, this is at 1.8. I mean, we are really getting picky here. We're zooming in quite a bit. So here we have a few more examples. So on the left side, the green color is actually going to represent the Sigma. The red is going to represent the Canon. These are both 1.8. I did leave the yellow ones to be the Sigma 1.4, just so we can actually see the differences. So let's take a look here. Now, overall, they both look really great. I really just looking at these two pictures, it's really hard to tell like which one I would pick. I think this one has a little more contrast than this one, but I mean, they both look really, really great. I do notice the white here is a little bit better. There is a little yellow in that house, but it's a little whiter. This one has a little more yellow, but I mean, that's nitpicking. There's not much of a difference there. Background, both look great. It's not till you get really close. So let's zoom in. Let's look here. Actually, they both look great. This one's a little more yellow, but looks great. This one's a little whiter. Reflections in the window look great. Front doors look great. Flooring. Here you'll start noticing the rocks. This is not quite as sharp as this, which leads me to believe that if I take it to the edge here, yep, just as I thought, more detail on the Sigma than there is on the Canon. Quite a bit, actually. I almost didn't notice this little wire here until I seen the Sigma version, the Sigma side of it. So, I mean, not much of a difference though. Both really, really great photos. If you really, really want to start seeing it, I mean, we're talking really nitpicking. We're going to have to look in about 100%, 300%. Let's see. So here you will start seeing some banding here. So, I mean, it's not bad because it's rust. So, I mean, you can't see it anyway, but you do notice the banding all across the roof here and up here, where on the Sigma, you don't. Now, is that because the Sigma is just better, or is it because, I mean, we just have the Sigma not really wide open and the Canon is wide open? Let's take a look. I'm going to replace the left one with the Sigma 1.4, and let's zoom back in. I mean, there's a little bit of banding on the Sigma here, just a tiny little bit here, little bit on these edges, but not much. No, still a lot less than the Canon. It's a good picture, but let's take a look at other examples. All right, here we have the exact same settings. It's the exact same picture. This was taken on a tripod. So I did this just to kind of show a little foreground, a little background, and the main piece. So honestly, this picture, they both look great. I wouldn't be able to tell you which one looks better, or if you put these two in front of me, printed out, I wouldn't be able to point them out. But when you really start looking at the detail, you might be able to see it. Let's see. No, not much. At 1.8, they both look great. Again, this Canon for $200 is really, really great. As a matter of fact, it's a little clearer here. Well, I guess that's not a great thing because I did have it at 1.8, so I wanted that depth of field. But not bad at all. I mean, all the details are there. This is slightly sharper, but not by much. I mean, we're zoomed in at about 100%. So, hey, I mean, this is definitely not as sharp as this. That is for sure, but not a huge difference. Let's take a look at the 1.4 on the left. I mean, it's brighter, sharper, a little more depth of field. You could definitely see it here, a little more blown out, but not a huge difference. Definitely a little clearer, a little sharper. I mean, for a 1.8 and a 1.4, these both look really great. Now, let's take a look at my horrible picture. I decided to stand fairly close to the camera. So here we have, I tried to do the identical stand, but of course, again, it's impossible. We don't see too much of a difference here. I mean, there's a little more black outline here than this. This is a little bit better blown out, but they both look identical. They both look great. There's a little more contrast on this shirt than there is here. Let's see here. This is actually shot at 1.8. It's an ISO 400 and it is at 1/200th of a second. So let's take a look here. I mean, the phone, very similar. The foreground, the background, very similar. I don't think you'll notice anything until you really zoom in. I mean, the model is doing great. Let's look at the eye. I mean, they are both tack sharp. They both look great. You can definitely see a little more on the skin on the Sigma. Let's look at the background here. Background looks great on both. You can definitely see the perfect circles here on the bokeh or bokeh, whatever. This one's got a little bit of a cat eye or egg shape. Not a big deal. Most people don't really look at that. Every bit of it looks the same. All right, let's put the 1.4 on the left side. See if there's any difference there. You do notice a little more color on the Sigma than you do on the Canon. So let's see if we can zoom in on the eye. They both look great. Thanks, Canon R Eye Detect. Makes it so much easier to shoot portraits. All right, let's take a look at one other picture I have here. So on the right side, we're going to put the Canon. Right side, the Canon. The left side, we're going to put the Sigma. These are pretty close. So I stood kind of in between the cabin and me. I'm sorry, the cabin and the camera. This was a little darker, so it was starting to get a little overcast. It's 1/200th of a second. We are at ISO 100. Like I said, I tend to shoot a little bit underexposed. 1.8 here. So let's take a look a little closer. Let's see the skin, like the arm. Definitely a little more color on the Sigma than on the Canon. Man, my face is burnt. I went out to a lake and forgot my sunscreen. So, I mean, they both look great. Let's see the eye. About the same. A little more detail here on the Sigma. Let's look at the roof here. I mean, we are at 200%. Good luck with anything. Here we have the Canon RF 50. Quite a bit smaller. Pretty compact, actually. If you want to go for hikes, this might be a great lens. Even if you damage it, you're not damaging more than $200. Not a bad deal. Of course, the Sigma is quite a bit bigger, but I'll have to admit it looks a lot more professional. Okay, so just a reminder, YouTube compression does kind of mess up the images a little bit, so it's not perfect. So I'll try to figure out a way to link them up somewhere and you guys can download them, take a look and play with them yourselves. None of those photos are edited, so they're all straight out of the camera. I do tend to shoot a little bit underexposed just because I can turn it up a little bit, catch a little more detail. So I tend to shoot underexposed, so some of those you'll see, they're a little underexposed. Now, what do I think? What am I going to decide? Well, I gotta admit, I have made a choice. I just sold the RF 1.8. Why? Well, that little bit of a difference in clarity with the Sigma was everything for me. Now, when I first started doing the test, I didn't notice it. I just kind of took some random photos and yeah, I just didn't notice it. But I started zooming in and yeah, you can see a lot more detail in the eye. You can see a lot more detail around. There is no color banding or, you know, all that other stuff. Now, as far as some of the stuff can be fixed in camera, I really don't care about that. So I didn't really test any of that because I either have the correction in my camera turned on or I throw it into Lightroom and make the correction myself. So I really don't care about some of the, you know, darkening the edges and, you know, some stuff like that. But chromatic aberrations, that purple line, those things I care about. Those little details I care about. So I was really excited when I got this. Now somebody else is going to be really happy with it. I only got it a few months ago, but it's going to a new home. I decided to stick with this. I really do think this is the best 50 out there. The Canon 1.2 might be its competitor. So for the cost, for the money, this is the best 50 out there. Sigma 1.4. And another thing is, another reason I'm keeping it is 1.8 versus 1.4. I mean, if I really wanted to just blow out that background, I can with this. This is pretty close, but this really does it. So just more options, you know? That's why we do this. That's why we spend all this money, to have those options. Sigma glass is definitely one of my favorite glass. I'm a big fan of Sigma art. If you want to sponsor me, sponsor me. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Sigma art. And I'm also a big fan of this control ring. So yes, $900 versus $200. If you're just starting out, I definitely recommend this. This is a great lens. You know, as you can see in some of the photos, I mean, it's so close. You really have to zoom in on some of those shots. Autofocus is a little bit louder, not by much. This is super quiet. I'll link a lot of the stuff down below so you guys can check it out yourselves. If you are on a budget and you don't have a whole lot of money to spend, the Nifty 50 RF is pretty amazing. You will not be disappointed. It's great. This, if you have a little more to spend but you just can't afford that L glass, this is a great alternative. I'll be really sad to see this go. I really didn't want to sell it. I kept thinking it's $200. I could probably afford to just keep it in my bag, but it's how we get new things here, and it's how we're not sponsored, so it's getting expensive. Again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them, and take care.